Chapter 1. The Night Death. Hesitated Elias Thornwood, 42, single father and night shift mechanic, gripped his steering wheel until his knuckles turned bone white. His '98 sedan coughed, sputtered, then died with a mechanical death rattle. The dashboard lights flickered once and went dark. In the back seat, 8-year-old Nora whimpered, clutching her teddy bear with one hand, her inhaler with the other. An asthma attack was brewing. He could hear it in the whistling wheeze of her breath. No cell signal. Headlights dead. Battery gone. The silence pressed in like a coffin lid closing. "Daddy," Nora's voice was barely a whisper. "Can't breathe." Elias's heart hammered against his ribs. 30 miles to the nearest hospital. No way to call for help. His daughter was dying, and he was helpless. In the fog outside, something whispered, a cold breath that Elias couldn't feel but sensed in his bones. Death circled the car, studying the girl through the window. Her time was measured in minutes now. The Reaper had seen this 1,000 times. The blue tinge creeping into lips, the desperate gasping, the final stillness. This one, Death thought, will be mine before dawn. Then came thunder, not weather, but engines. 5 Harleys crested the hill like steel stallions from some modern myth. Chrome glinted under sodium lamps, black vests adorned with skull patches, beards thick as storm clouds, leather worn soft by 10,000 miles of road. Death paused. Witnesses. Complications. The lead rider, Knox Ryder, killed his engine. Boots hit asphalt with purpose. His storm gray eyes took in the scene instantly. Disabled car, terrified father, dying child in the back. "Kids turning blue," he barked, voice like gravel over honey. Another biker they called Diesel yanked a medkit from his saddlebag. No hesitation, no questions. Knox knelt beside the car, and his eyes, beneath all that menace, softened. "Hey, little one, need you to breathe for me, okay?" Nora's terrified gaze met his. In that moment, seeing this leather-clad giant with his skull patches and wild beard, she should have been more afraid. But something in his eyes told her a different story. She nodded, trusting. Death stood frozen, confused for the first time in eons. This man, he sees me. No, but he feels me. He knows I'm here. The fog parted as if acknowledging that mercy was arriving. Knox cradled Nora against his cut, the leather vest that was a biker's second skin. The skull patch looked stark against her pink pajamas. Diesel prepped the nebulizer, a portable military-grade unit. No one asked why a biker carried medical equipment. The other 3 bikers formed a protective wall, flashlights cutting through the darkness like lightsabers. Engines idled low, a mechanical growl that sounded like guardian dogs. Elias stood frozen, rain mixing with tears on his face. "She needs a hospital," he stammered. "Nearest one is 30 miles. Knox didn't flinch. "We ride." He lifted Nora as if she weighed nothing, settling her in front of him on the Harley. The little girl clutched her teddy bear with one hand, the other gripping Knox's leather jacket. Diesel tossed Elias a helmet. "You ride with me. Hold on tight." Death watched, stunned. "He's taking my claim. How dare he?" But as the engines roared to life, she felt something she hadn't felt in millennia. Doubt. Chapter 2. Racing the Invisible Pursuer. The convoy roared to life, a symphony of American steel and defiance. Headlights carved tunnels through fog that seemed to resist them, as if the night itself didn't want to let them pass. Elias clung to Diesel's waist, wind whipping his face raw, every gust carrying away another prayer. With every mile, Nora's breathing steadied. Knox's gloved hand rested on her chest, counting breaths like a metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. In, out, in, out. He'd done this before, though he'd never told anyone where he'd learned it. Afghanistan, a little boy in Fallujah. Different war, same desperate counting. Behind them, invisible to all, death rode. Her cloak billowed in wind she couldn't feel. Her steed made of shadow rather than chrome. Why can't I take her? Why are they stronger than me? She had never been challenged like this. Pestilence, she understood. War, she respected. But love? Sacrifice? These were forces she'd forgotten existed in the world. At a red light, a cop cruiser pulled alongside. The officer's eyes narrowed at the patches. He recognized the club. Known for violence, drugs, territory wars. His hand moved toward his radio. Knox met his stare, unblinking. In that gaze, the cop saw something unexpected. Not threat, not defiance, desperation, determination, the universal language of someone fighting to save a life. The light turned green. The cop hesitated, then let them pass. Something unspoken hung in the air. Respect, maybe, or recognition that some rules bend when death is racing behind you. Death saw more than that exchange. She saw the aura around Knox, not bright, but protective, dense, impenetrable. This man has danced with me before. He knows my steps. He's not afraid. They hit St. Alder's Medical Center at 110 and Braids. ER doors flew open. Nurses swarmed like white uniformed angels. Knox carried Nora inside, boots echoing on linoleum, her teddy bear clutched to her chest. 8-year-old female, acute asthma attack, partial respiratory failure. Knox's voice was professional, clipped. Medical training from somewhere in his past. The nurses didn't question it. Doctors took over. Elias stumbled after them, legs like jelly. In the waiting room, the bikers filled the space with leather, chains, and ink. A security guard approached, hand on his taser, ready to escort these obvious troublemakers out. Knox raised a palm. "We're with the kid." Something in his tone, not threat, but absolute certainty, made the guard back off. In the corner, invisible, death stood. She stared at the white light above the operating room door. Waiting, always waiting. But for the first time in forever, uncertain. I've lost. Tonight, I've lost. Chapter 3. The one who'd seen death before. Hours bled together. Coffee went cold. Diesel dozed sitting up, arms crossed. The other bikers maintained their vigil in silence, a brotherhood of watchful sentinels. Finally, a doctor emerged, pulling off her surgical mask. "She'll be fine. You got her here just in time. Another 10 minutes. She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Elias collapsed into a plastic chair, sobbing. Great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep in his soul. Knox crouched beside him, this mountain of leather and tattoos, and placed one scarred hand on the father's shoulder. "She's a fighter," Knox said softly, "like her old man." Elias looked up, seeing the man's eyes properly for the first time. Storm gray, but warm, ancient. Eyes that had seen too much, but refused to look away. "Why?" Elias choked out. "Why help us? You don't know us. We're nobody to you." Knox shrugged, a gesture that seemed to carry the weight of years. Seen too many kids lose. He pulled a worn photo from his wallet. A boy, maybe 10, gap-toothed smile, holding a baseball. The edges were soft from being handled too many times. "My nephew, Tommy didn't make it. Asthma attack at his school. Nobody knew what to do. By the time the ambulance came, Knox's jaw tightened. 7 years ago. Feel like yesterday. Silence stretched between them. Diesel clapped Elias's shoulder. Road's cruel, brother. We soften it where we can. Death approached, drawn by the photograph. She studied the boy's face and remembered. Yes, I took this one. A schoolyard. Teachers panicking. The boy turning blue while adults fumbled with phones. She looked at Knox with something approaching understanding. This is why. This is his war. Outside, dawn bled pink over the parking lot. The Harleys waited like patient beasts. Inside, Nora slept, teddy bear tucked under her chin, oxygen mask over her small face. Chapter 4. When Death Becomes Visible. Nora woke to sunlight and Knox's silhouette in the doorway, holding a stuffed eagle wearing a tiny leather vest. "Thought your bear needed a friend," he said, his gruff voice softening to something almost gentle. Nora giggled, weak but real. The sound of it hit Knox like a fist to the chest. Joy, pure and uncomplicated. Elias entered, eyes red-rimmed from exhaustion and relief. "You stayed all night?" Knox nodded, promised her I'd be here when she woke. The bikers had rotated shifts, never leaving. A nurse whispered to Elias, "They scared off a drug dealer in the lobby, quietly. Security didn't even know until it was over." Death watched all of this, invisible in her corner. She watched the bikers share pancakes with Nora via video call from her room. Diesel taught her to flip a coin across her knuckles, his massive hand surprisingly gentle. The little girl laughed at her clumsy attempts. Knox caught Elias staring from the doorway. "She's got your eyes. Stubborn." Elias laughed, a broken sound. "You hungry? I owe you everything. Breakfast at least?" Knox shook his head. "We eat on the road." But he accepted coffee, black, no sugar. Steam curled between them like a peace offering. "You ride?" Knox asked. "Used to, before her mom." Elias trailed off, pain flickering across his face. "Before the accident." Knox understood. No words needed. Outside, a news van pulled up. Someone had tipped them off. "Biker gang saves child." Knox's jaw tightened. "We're ghosts in 10, he said, standing abruptly. Before they could leave, Nora's voice crackled over the intercom. "Mr. Knox?" Knox returned to her room. She held out a crayon drawing, 5 Harleys, a sedan, a stick-figure girl waving. "For you." Knox took it like it was made of gold. "Gonna frame this at the clubhouse." Elias watched, throat thick. "You don't have to leave. The news, the attention, it's good. You saved her life." Knox's smile was sad, knowing. World's got ideas about us. Better this way. Keeps everyone safe. Outside, Diesel revved his engine, signaled to roll. Hugs were awkward, leather against hospital gown, rough hands gentle on small shoulders. Nora whispered, "Will you visit?" Knox tapped her nose. "Count on it, Captain." In the parking lot, Elias offered his hand. Knox clasped it, firm. "Anything, ever, you call." He scribbled a number on a napkin, pressed it into Elias's palm. The bikers mounted up. Engines growled farewell as they vanished into the sunrise, a line of chrome horses returning to whatever mysterious life they lived. Nora pressed her palm to the window, watching until the last taillight disappeared. The eagle sat on her bed, its vest stitched with tiny wings. Elias pocketed the napkin like a talisman. The news van filmed the empty parking lot, already twisting the story into something more palatable, more marketable. But inside room 212, a little girl breathed easy. and a father learned that monsters sometimes wear halos. The Harley's roar faded, but the echo stayed. Proof that thunder can carry mercy. Chapter 5. Death makes an offer. That night, as Willow Myers slept, Death stood at the foot of Nora's hospital bed, still invisible, still waiting. She studied the child, the steady rise and fall of her chest, the pink returning to her cheeks, the teddy bear and eagle tucked under small arms. I should take her now, Death thought, while she sleeps, while no one can interfere. But she didn't. Instead, she found herself at the roadside motel where the bikers had stopped for the night. 5 rooms in a row. She entered Knox's without knocking. Doors meant nothing to her. He sat on the edge of the bed, still dressed, the crayon drawing spread on the nightstand. In the dim light, he looked older, tired, a man carrying ghosts. Death made herself visible. Knox didn't flinch, just looked at her reflection in the mirror across from the bed. "Wondered when you'd show up," he said quietly. Death stepped closer, stunned. "You see me?" "Yeah." Knox turned to face her directly. "Been seeing you since Fallujah. You took my whole unit, left me standing in the sand, covered in their blood. Why can you see me?" Doc said it was trauma, PTSD, hallucinations. Knox's laugh was bitter. "But I know better. You let me see you, so I'd know, so I'd understand." Death nodded slowly. "I took your nephew, too. I know, wasn't there, but I felt it. Felt you." They stared at each other, the immortal reaper and the scarred warrior. "Why did you stop me tonight?" Death asked. "That child was mine. Her thread was cut." "Because you've taken enough from me, enough from the world, and because someone once told me that every life saved is a middle finger to fate." Knox's eyes hardened. "That little girl isn't done yet. Neither is her old man. I'll come for her again one day. Maybe, but not tonight, not tomorrow, not while I'm still breathing." Death considered this. Then, surprisingly, she smiled, a terrible, beautiful thing. "You've made a deal with me, Knox Ryder, whether you know it or not. Her life, for yours. When her time truly comes, I'll take you first. You'll ride ahead, clear the road. Make sure she's not afraid when I finally call her home." Knox thought about this, thought about Tommy, about his unit, about all the ghosts he carried. "Deal," he said. Death vanished. Knox sat in the darkness, listening to Diesel snore through the thin walls, and wondered if he'd just won or lost. Outside, the Harleys gleamed under parking lot lights, waiting for dawn and the next stretch of road. And somewhere in a hospital room 30 miles away, Nora slept soundly, unaware that her life had just become the prize in a bargain between a broken man and death herself. The eagle plush seemed to watch over her, its stitched eyes knowing more than any toy should. Epilogue. Roads go ever on. 3 weeks later, dusk painted Willow Myers' only diner in bruised orange. Elias pushed open the glass door, Nora skipping ahead. The place smelled of burnt coffee and bacon grease. Home smells, safe smells. At the counter sat Knox, alone, nursing a mug. No colors, no bike visible outside, just flannel and tired eyes. "Mr. Knox!" Nora squealed and bolted. He caught her mid-leap, spinning once before setting her down. "Captain, reporting for duty?" Elias slid into the booth opposite. "Thought you were ghosts." Knox's grin was crooked. "Ghosts get hungry, too." Outside, unseen by anyone but Knox, Death stood in the parking lot, watching through the diner window. She had kept her distance these weeks, observing as Knox visited, as he found work at Elias's garage, as Willow Myers slowly accepted these strange guardians who'd appeared from the fog. She watched Nora laugh, watched the eagle plush sitting in the booth beside her, watched Knox slide a small box across the table, a silver pendant shaped like a tiny Harley. "For when you're big enough to ride," Knox said. Death nodded to herself. "Not today, not tomorrow, but someday I'll collect what's owed." Until then, she would wait, patient as only eternity can be, because on Black Ridge Highway, thunder can carry mercy, and death sometimes learns to play the long game. The end.